Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and welcome to Thriving in Uncertainty, the show where we dive into the strategies, the steps, everything that you need to know to really make uncertainty start working for you, turn it into your competitive advantage. I'm super excited today because I actually have somebody with me who has really navigated these uncertain waters really well. It's a great friend of mine, Mitch Haber with OneAmerica. Welcome to the show, Mitch.
Great. Thanks, Meredith. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, excited to have you on. You've really been doing some innovative and creative things since COVID has changed our world and changed our lives. But tell our listeners, tell our audience just a little bit about you. Give us a little bit of background.
Sure. I've got some banners behind me. I'm actually originally born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and moved to California the day I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh and been in Los Angeles ever since. So my journey to California, I was really interested in a bigger opportunity with a bigger city, and really sought my fame and fortune. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't want to be in show business. That wasn't it. And I got early into the retirement business in the late 80s, right around when 401k plans were just kind of getting rolling. And so I was one of the pioneers. And 32 years later, you wake up and you go, wow, I've been doing this most of my working career. So I exist to do two things. I was born and raised to serve other people, and I really feel that that's a big part of my role. And the people that I think about serving are financial intermediaries, advisors, consultants. And I've always really been about making them better and seeing things a little bit differently. And oh my, we certainly are in one of those times, right? So that's been my journey.
Well, so when all this hit, I mean, there you are in LA, you are just living the life. I mean, we have just had a rock solid hot economy for the last, probably 10 years. Take us back to February, March, when things really started to shift for you. And how did the uncertainty impact you and impact your clients?
Well, I have a moment that hit me. And so it was March 13th, it was a Friday, and I landed at Los Angeles International, returning from a trip from Arizona. And I'll never forget going to go get my car, and the parking lot was empty.
Wow.
And so now that just doesn't happen very often at LAX, but it did to me. And that was kind of the beginning of the wake-up call for me. You talk about uncertainty. It hit me between the eyeballs. And I just remember that vivid moment when I was checking out and there was no attendant there. And I was like, it was almost a surreal moment.
Yeah.
But that moment really triggered something in me, because I knew right then and there that what I did, how I did it, and who I did it with and for was about to change dramatically. And you know what, Meredith? 7 months, whatever the number is now later, I'm not sure much has changed, to tell you the truth, from that March.
That moment.
Yeah. So that was my moment.
So what exactly? So, you get home from this surreal, experience, and you head back into the office, or maybe you didn't the next day. Maybe you worked remotely. Where did you start? Where did you begin to turn things around, or to even get started?
So the emails were flying over the weekend. Offices shut down. The world that you knew it was changing dramatically. But what I knew is I still wanted to do what I like to do, and that is to provide value to other people. And so I realized that I just had to do it differently. And so that kind of led me to think about messaging, and really, frankly, controlling what I could control and ignoring what I couldn't control. Mm-hmm. And so, because it was at that moment, it was really, really easy to get sucked in by all the things going on around us. And now I'm not superhuman. I was absorbing all the news and all the other things as well, keeping my eyes wide open. But I still had a job to do, and I still wanted to do it. So it started to tap inside me. What could I do?
Yeah.
And so I'd be happy to share with you kind of what
Yeah.
that first week was like, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to hear because, Mitch, one of the most fascinating things, I did a little poll with people, just had about 300 people respond to it. And the only question I asked is, when uncertainty hits, do you run to the sound of the gunfire and take action, or you take more of a wait and see approach? And I've really been fascinated that 79% of the people answering that poll said we take a wait and see approach, and that a lot of people are stuck right now, and that very
Yeah.
few people run to the sound of the gunfire. So if you could tell us how you ran to the sound of the gunfire, I think that'd be really valuable for
Yeah,
everybody
no,
listening to us.
I ran with both feet, both arms, legs, body, and soul. Here's what I did. I wanted to do something, and any meeting that I had, any event that I was doing, gone, right? Gone. It's just like your life, changed
Yeah.
on a dime. And so I reached out to a former coworker of mine who I considered one of the arguably the better, most gifted, talented speakers that I have worked with. His name is Don Barden. And I reached out, I said, and I think this was Monday or Tuesday. I said, "Hey, Don, I want to do something to serve my customers," which was once again third-party administrators, advisors, people that manage money, things like that on the world of retirement plans. "But I want to do it differently." He goes, "Mitch, I'm all in." And so he said, "Here's what I'd like to do. Let's talk about growth." Like, are you kidding me? We're going to talk about growth in a time when the world is upside down and changing by the second. And I said, "Don, let's do it." And so I brought this idea to my marketplace, and this is what happened on a Thursday and Friday afternoon at 2:00 in the afternoon. I had over 100 people show up for what essentially is now a phone call. Now, by the way, true confession, I didn't know what Skype, GoTo, all these little bells and whistles and apparatuses were, but I found out very quickly. And so Don and I brought the idea of essentially controlling what you can control and providing that as a growth opportunity to people that were just kind of, the stock market too was going like this and it was upside down. And what I experienced on that afternoon phone call was the energy and the attentiveness of everybody that was on that phone call. And so as I've come to learn and appreciate some of the power of some of these tools, you can virtually witness people's attention. And so you can experience that. And Meredith, I experienced that in a way that I just had not experienced before. So the call itself had an intensity. The call itself had a memorable aspect of it. And I'm getting text messages while the call is going on live, telling me how much people are appreciating the message. And so that's different, right? When you do live events, you don't really get that kind of instantaneous feedback. So all that was going on in my world, and what I walked away with, what was for sale. And I quickly realized a product was not for sale at that moment in time. What people were latching onto was the message, the opportunity, the outlook of something other than what was going on in the news and the pandemic. Like, I couldn't control any of that, but we could help people think about how they thought about the way they serve. And I just went all in on that. And because I saw the power of that. And so I've actually been pretty good at my working career of doing events. And I've always tried to do events with something other than a product attached to it. I've tried to provide events that help the people in life. So whether that was, obviously somebody like yourself, or whether that was somebody that had an experience that was surreal, the person I reached out to after the first one was a guy that his name's Mike Schlappy. Mike Schlappy was in 4 Paralympics and was shot in the chest as a 15-year-old and was paralyzed from the waist down. And so Mike's in his 50s right now, wrote a book, was a gold medalist 2 times. And Mike offered to me a message of hope, outlook, and his tagline is, maybe you just have to do it a different way. And so honestly, I've never forgotten about that, because I met Mike through introductions through other people. And I wanted to bring people like that to my marketplace that just offered, everybody's feeling sorry for themselves, which is a big part of this. Well, we weren't paralyzed from the waist down. We haven't had to literally reinvent our bodies. And we were able to bring that through a person that just had such a positive outlook and, was at the lowest of lows, but obtained what we would consider the highest of highs in an event that changed his life. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like we were all going through the same thing. And I told Mike, I said, Mike, you're just a little bit ahead of us. You already went through this. Yeah. And so that was kind of round number 2. And then Meridith, what I also realized is everybody was available. Everybody. Wow. And so, Mike was available. Mike was a live event guy. He was booked out through the summer, and then I just started to reach out to people that I've been following, people that I dreamed of having events with, were out of my price range, and I just kind of went a little crazy on finding talented people that had a message of hope, optimism, and outlook. And really what I was just hoping for as I delivered these different programs, if somebody walked away with one thing, I was good, right? Because when you go to these live event conferences, you're just looking for that one pearl. And that one pearl is coming in all shapes and different sizes right now, because the playbook of what's going on is completely a blank piece of paper. Yeah. And so that's a little bit of my journey that's brought me to, October 19th at 12:13 in the afternoon in Southern California.
So what is it that you think that your clients, and do you offer this just to clients, or is it open? Like, how do you decide? How do you promote? How do you position them?
So it's a good question. The hard part is promoting it. And it gets harder. You and I chatted last week, and it gets harder because I think the fatigue factor of this is just really starting to wear on people. And you know what? It changes by the hour. And so it could be on you had a good last phone call, you feel better. You had a bad last phone call, you don't feel as good. And then here comes the inundation of emails and options for people to get all over these different events that people are happening. What I decided to do is I wanted to avoid the following. I wanted to avoid the stock market. I can't control that. I wanted to avoid the virus. I can't control that. I wanted to avoid the news. I can't control that. And I definitely wanted to avoid politics because I can't control that either. So, but through the power of social media and technology, like I said, I just started to find people that had messages that were just very appropriate, and including somebody like you. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to go all in with that. And so one thing, it's the art of this is to find the person that kind of fits those qualities. The art of this is to try to find the reason why somebody would give an hour of their time to join this particular session. And so when I've done this with, I happen to do this with my son, Daniel, who happens to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I've also happened to do this with another OneAmerica colleague who's in Chicago. His name is Jeff Eisman. So those are my millennial counterparts. So here I am, I'm not a millennial, and they're just really comfortable in all this technology stuff. And I'm definitely playing catch up. But their outlook, their view, their perspective was so valuable to me, because I was able to learn from them on the messaging and things like that. So that was all very important to me as well. So once I find the right person, I got to go all in. I got to believe in it. I got to think that it adds value to somebody. And oh, by the way, none of this, I mentioned the name OneAmerica. I don't talk about the things that we do, but I want this to be about something much more than retirement. And that's become one of my taglines, is making it more than retirement, because I think right now that's what's needed. And my other tagline that has kind of evolved of this is meeting people where they are. And so my lessons learned is people are everywhere. They're in living rooms, they're in kitchens, they're in attics like you, and they're in different places. They're in studios, and anyway, so that's been a big part of my journey. And you want to know what else? It's made me feel relevant in a time when it's very difficult to feel relevant. So even though my eye is on serving somebody else, selfishly speaking, it's frankly serving me too, as I try to find, these guests, people like you, I'm looking for that secret magic pill as well myself.
Yes.
So I haven't figured it all out. So anyway,
what's some of the best advice or some of the messages that really resonated with you since you've been doing these, that you thought, wow, that really hit the mark?
Yeah. I've had a couple. I'm actually staring at a quote that I wrote down. We had a gentleman by the name of Ash Dykes. Okay. Ash Dykes is a world record holder and an extreme adventure at the age of 29. He's actually on National Geographic, I think tomorrow, on a live show. He lives in Wales. So this thing has taken us overseas as well. I'm going to read the quote so we went live with Ash in August. This is what Ash is, just kind of this 29-year-old that's got it all figured out. And he was just terrific. But he said, just because someone hasn't found a way to do something doesn't mean it can't be done. And so, you know what, Meridith, what I have found is I've met people through this experience that I would have never met in my life. Never met in my life. So that's been a big part of the journey as well. So Ash is a good example. I had a congressman in Cleveland. His name's Anthony Gonzalez. Just a real grounded, down-to-earth freshman congressman that I happened to meet through my 401k experience. I had a CEO of a hospital in New York City. We brought him live in May.
Wow.
And I wanted to hear his story of how he pivoted an entire hospital from being something that it was never designed to do to become a COVID hospital. He literally took a 4,500 employee organization and turned it on a dime. Wow. And so that story to me needed to be told because I thought it was fascinating. So he really was in the eye of the storm, in the eye of the hurricane. So
what's some of your biggest advice to people, for people that maybe don't run to the sound of the gunfire? How do we get movement? How do we get traction? What are the things that we should be doing to thrive in an uncertain marketplace?
I think if you feel like you have it all figured out, you probably don't. I think if you aren't open-minded right now, you should be. I think the next best way, I do think that my industry and the way my industry is supported and served, I do think it's going to change, and it has changed dramatically. And you want to know what else I've learned? It might be better now than it's ever been before as a result of some of these things. The efficiency of what we can do now is just unbelievable. And so I've experienced all that through some of these web series and how people serve other people. And the one thing that I've learned is people need help.
Yeah.
So that is a common thread to the lesson that I have learned about people do need help. They just don't know how to reach you sometimes. And the people that I support and serve are helpers. Mm-hmm. And so through these web series, I've just wanted to provide insight in ways that they could maybe use some of my lessons learned through some of the people that I meet by getting help. And
Yeah, it's what I love about what you did. When I was a kid, my mother used to tell me that the fastest way to get over my own problems was to focus on somebody else's. She was famous for saying that. Anytime I moaned or complained about anything, she'd say, "Go volunteer, go do something like that. You won't think about your own problems anymore." And
Right.
it's really in essence what you did is you took a
Yeah,
situation where you had no idea what was going to happen in your world, but you just showed up to serve every day, and it's really helped you find your path forward.
it has. It has. And I've had some amazing help from the mutual fund companies that support me. So this does cost money. And so the people that I have historically counted on have really stepped in. A lot of the mutual fund companies like BMO and Janice Henderson in particular have really, really ponied up and really have been so excited about what could be. And so that enthusiasm that I've had from some of the sponsors that we've had, frankly, fuels me
Yeah.
to keep going. And I told them that too. I said, because I'm there are no boundaries, there are no limits to what we can do right now. And so I'm very game on pushing those boundaries and pushing those limits. I have some exciting ideas to find people, and I think for me, the bar just keeps getting higher and higher, and I'm cool with that. I want to go all in on this.
So, how do people find out more about you, find out more about your events? And then I want to ask you your biggest piece of advice for people right now. So you can answer any of that in any order you want to.
Okay, so you can call. I have an email address and a cell phone. It's the email address is my name dot last name Mitchell.Haber at OneAmerica.com. My cell phone is a California exchange at 818-203-1335. And yeah, I welcome a call if anybody has an idea, if anybody has a pearl, a nugget, something that they've seen from somebody else. I've become kind of a YouTuber, quite frankly, because a lot of people and their messages are now published, right? They're
Yeah.
real. And so so when I listen to someone, I'm just trying to kind of make a personality match. Is it a good fit for what we want to deliver? Is it a good fit for OneAmerica and the message that we're trying to do? And does it really serve the purpose of making it more than retirement? Because I think right now that what's going on now is way bigger than anything we could have ever
Yeah.
dreamed of. So
what's your biggest piece of advice for people out there right now?
don't stop listening. Don't stop learning. Don't think you have it figured out, because you don't. I think this changes by the minute. I think there is no playbook for the right way to be. The other thing too is if you're standing around waiting, I've had people say, "Oh, Mitch, let's get together when this thing settles down." And I had people tell me that 4 months ago, and I remember reacting to that, and I'm like, I think it has settled down. Like, this is
Yeah,
it.
this
And
is it.
so, yeah, maybe this is getting together now.
Yeah.
And so, so there's a few live events that are occurring. Not many, Meredith. Not many. It's very few and far between. I think people. The dangerous part of this is there's a settling in of the way it is right now.
Mhm.
And so, I'm a people guy. And so anybody that's made a living interacting with people, if you haven't adapted to the way it is, I think you're struggling.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
would agree.
and it brings me back to the Mike Schlappy comment. Maybe you just have to do it a different way. So
Yeah.
I just don't think that is played out yet. And I'm not sure the next best idea hasn't happened yet. So every time I bring in a guest, every time I bring in a topic, every time I bring a live event to our web series, my eyes get opened as to how powerful people really can be. So I got less into product and more into people, because I think right now people are really the solution to what's going on, not the product.
I love that. And that is a great way. That's a great way to end it right there. I mean, less into product and more into people. If you want to figure your way out of this crisis, that is the quote that is going up on my wall, that I'll be looking at, because I do believe that. I think if you focus your time and energies just on helping other people, you're going to find your path forward. So, Mitch, I am super excited because we're going to be doing a program this coming Wednesday, where I get to come on with you.
11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern.
Yep. And all people have to do is follow up with you if they want to find out more information. And I put your email. I didn't quite catch the phone number, but I put your email there in the chat box. You can also just Google him. If you Google Mitch Haber, OneAmerica, he will pop right up. Cool. But it has been fantastic having you on here today. We got to do it again because I love these real life stories of people that are going through the journey, because I think it's what people need to hear, is that somebody else has taken the path before him. So you've been awesome to have on here today. All
right. And we'll see you Wednesday at 11 o'clock in California. We're going to Hawaii as well with this. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning there. So you got all kinds of time zones floating around. And thanks again to our friends at Janice Henderson, who are making a lot of this possible for us. So it's a pleasure being here.
Big thank you. Well, thank you for sharing your message, and look forward to Wednesday, and look forward to having you back on here. So everybody join us again next week when we have another update, another guest, and another set of strategies of everything that you need to know to thrive in an uncertain marketplace. We'll see you then. Bye.